Maine is a beautiful state with forests, rocky coastlines, and peaceful towns, but behind all that beauty lies a darker side. This state is full of spooky ghost stories, haunted buildings, and eerie legends that have been passed down for generations. Maine has some truly chilling places to explore. Let's take a look at some of the most haunted spots in the Maine. Number 1. The Seguin Island Lighthouse sits on a small island off the coast of Georgetown, Maine. Built in 1857, it is the second oldest lighthouse in the state and stands on a lonely hill with a clear view of the vast Atlantic Ocean. Over the years, the lighthouse has become famous not only for guiding ships to safety, but also for being one of Maine's most haunted places. The haunting stories of Seguin Island go back many years. One of the most famous ghost stories is about a lighthouse keeper who lived there with his wife in the 1800s. He bought her a piano to help pass the time. But there was only one song she knew how to play, and she played it over and over, day and night. Driven mad by the constant music, the keeper killed her. Then, realizing what he had done, he took his own life. People say that even today, visitors can hear the soft sound of piano music drifting through the air, even though no piano remains on the island. Another spooky tale tells of a sailor who died in a shipwreck near the island. His ghost is said to wander the beach, especially on stormy nights, calling out for help. A story comes from a modern Coast Guard worker who stayed on the island in the 1980s. He and his crew heard loud footsteps and doors slamming in the middle of the night when no one else was around. They believed a ghost was walking through the keeper's house. A fourth tale talks about tools and items moving on their own. Workers who came to do repairs have claimed that their gear was mysteriously misplaced or thrown across the room. Many visitors have seen shadowy figures standing in the windows of the lighthouse. Some even said they felt cold spots and heard whispers while exploring the island. All of these ghost stories make Seguin Island Lighthouse a place full of mystery and a chilling reminder of the lonely lives once lived there. Number 2. Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor, Maine, was built in 1834. It's the second oldest garden-style cemetery in the U.S. with its tall trees, winding paths, and over 29,000 graves. It looks peaceful during the day. But many people say the place feels very different at night. Some ghost hunters once recorded a strange voice near a tall stone monument. The voice sounded like someone singing an old Elvis Presley song. There was no one around, but the song showed up again in later recordings, like a ghost was singing in the dark. One of the most famous ghost stories here is about Al Brady, a gangster who was shot by the FBI in 1937. He was buried in an unmarked grave at Mount Hope. People say they see a man in a hat walking between the gravestones. Some also smell gunpowder in the air. During October ghost tours, strange gunshot sounds are sometimes heard, even though no one is firing a gun. Another spirit is said to be Joseph Marie Junin, a fur trader killed long ago. Some believe his spirit was cursed and now wanders the cemetery. People say they feel cold winds near his grave and hear footsteps behind them, even when alone. A few have even seen a man holding a lantern who disappears into the trees. There's a small area where 17 children from an old orphanage are buried. On quiet nights, people have found tiny handprints on their car windows. Joggers also report hearing soft giggles that turn into coughing, possibly from the sickness that once spread in the orphanage. The grave of Vice President Hannibal Hamlin also has strange activity. People have seen a ghostly soldier standing by his family's graves. When someone gets close, the soldier salutes and then disappears into a dark shadow. Parts of the horror movie Pet Sematary were filmed here too. Some visitors say they see mist in the shape of a cat near the movie steps, but it vanishes if they try to take a photo. With ghostly children, lost soldiers, and even singing spirits, Mount Hope Cemetery is filled with spooky stories from the past. Number 3. The Blaine House, built in 1833 and serving since 1919 as the official residence of Maine's governors, stands on State Street in Augusta. It's a place of political history, and many believe it hides a more mysterious side. Visitors, staff, and paranormal enthusiasts have shared several intriguing ghost stories that seem tied to the lives of those who once lived here. One of the most reported spirits is James G., Blaine himself. People have seen a dignified man in period dress lingering in the study or walking halls where he once held meetings. Sometimes his footsteps or soft hums are heard late at night, and some say they've even caught a creaking door opening by itself when no one else was in the room. Another presence in the Blaine house is believed to be Harriet Blaine, James' wife, or his daughter Alice. A few staff and guests have spotted a woman in old-fashioned dress standing in the garden or near windows. Gardeners heard soft sobs and found rosebuds arranged into a B on a bench no one else had visited. Strange noises also come from the basement and older sections, where staff sometimes hear moving furniture or unexplained shuffling. No one lives in those rooms anymore, but old echoes and thick walls seem to carry the sounds of the past. A soft drag of a chair, a sudden chill, a door creaking wide, and then everything goes quiet again. One snowy night, the grand piano struck a single chord. The governor found keys cold, yet a faint rose scent in the room. Between the sighting of Blaine himself, Harriet's or Alice's gentle form in the garden, and mysterious sounds in empty rooms, the Blaine house has grown a reputation. Although meant to be a proud symbol of Maine's leadership, its history seems to whisper that some old friends, and perhaps old sorrows, never quite left the house. Number 4. The Lucerne Inn, built around 1818 in Dedham, Maine, is a beautiful hotel that sits on a hill with stunning views of Phillips Lake. It has been a peaceful spot for travelers for over 200 years, but some guests and staff say it's also home to spirits who never left. One of the most famous ghost stories involves a bride. Long ago, a young woman was set to be married at the inn. But just before the wedding, something went terribly wrong. Some say she was left at the altar. Others say her fiancé died in an accident. Heartbroken, the bride went to her room and never came out. Today, people say they see her walking the halls in a white wedding dress. She sometimes looks out of the windows, waiting for someone. One guest even found rose petals on their bed, though no roses were in the room. Another well-known story is about a man who caught his wife with another man in room 8. In a rage, he killed them both, then took his own life in room 5. Since then, guests have heard loud arguments coming from empty rooms. One person woke up to find the rocking chair moving on its own, and another said they heard heavy footsteps, but no one was there. Outside the room 8 door, a woman and a small child are often heard speaking in hushed voices. One couple, packing to leave, heard a girl ask, "Is he gone yet?" But there were no children checked in that week. When they opened the door, only quiet air and the scent of lilacs drifted by. Room 5 carries its own chill. A night clerk once saw the ceiling fan spinning by itself, and seconds later the lobby piano downstairs struck 3 soft notes. Nobody sat at the keys. In the attic bar, bartenders keep an eye on the glass rack. More than once a lone wine glass has slipped free, floated an inch, and dropped into a sink without breaking. Others find their phone cameras refuse to focus until they leave the spot outside room 8, as if the lens is pushed aside by something unseen. With the ghost bride, shadowy figures, floating glasses, and cold whispers, the Lucerne Inn feels like a place where love, heartbreak, and mystery still linger. Number 5. Wood Island Lighthouse sits on a lonely, wave-washed rock at the mouth of Seguin Bay. The present granite tower has flashed its warning light since 1858, yet many visitors say another warning, less visible but just as real, still echoes across the island. The unrest is traced to a June evening in 1896, when a drunken lobsterman named Howard Hobbs quarreled with his landlord, Deputy Fred Milliken, over back rent. Hobbs shot Milliken, helped carry the wounded man to the keeper's porch, and ended his own life with the same rifle. Locals claim the pair never left. Low moans drift from the abandoned chicken co-op, and a dark figure sometimes glides along the boardwalk toward the tower before fading into the rocks. Teresa Lowell, who lived here with her Coast Guard keeper husband in the 1980s, felt a freezing presence slip past her inside a bedroom closet and smelled sharp gunpowder on the still air. Locked doors were later found standing open, and fresh footprints spiraled up the empty tower steps while shadowy shapes lurked on the lantern balcony. During a 2005 investigation, the ghost hunters placed recorders in the lantern room. When they played the tape, a whisper emerged through the static. "I think the shot got them," words no living person on the island had spoken. Keeper Thomas Orchid's dog, Sailor, once rang the fog bell with his teeth to greet passing ships. The bell was removed decades ago, yet fishermen still report a single clang rolling over the bay on calm nights, as if the loyal dog is still on duty. Footsteps, voices, ringing bells, and one tragic gunshot weave together, convincing many that Wood Island's past still walks beside its light. Number 6. Robie Andrews Hall is the oldest dorm on the Gorham campus. Robie was built in 1897, Andrews in 1916, and both once housed only women from the old Gorham Normal School. The halls twist like a maze, with an attic no student can enter and a tall belfry that looks out over town. Generations of residents have sworn the building is not empty after lights out. The best-known story tells of a student many call Sarah. More than 100 years ago, she was pregnant and became depressed after her boyfriend left her. Her letters home went unanswered. She climbed to the belfry night after night, calling for her parents. One stormy evening she is said to have fallen, or been pushed, to her death. Students still meet a pale girl in old-style clothes near the tower stairs. She vanishes at the next corner, and a breeze full of salt air follows her path. Others hear her crying their names when they study late. During 2023 finals, radiator taps spelled Sarah in Morse until a student whispered, "We remember you." The old freight elevator has been known to open and close by itself, with some believing the ghost is using it. Life in the rooms under the locked attic can be unsettling. Residents lying in bed have listened to heavy furniture scrape across the floor above, even though they know the attic is packed tight and no one has a key. One night the racket grew so loud that several students left to sleep elsewhere. When they crept back at dawn, the hallway smelled like dust and old perfume. Near the attic stairwell, a student once felt fingers grip her arm hard enough to leave red marks, yet no one stood beside her. Others walked through sudden icy patches in midsummer, or watched their clocks reset to midnight while televisions flicker on by themselves. A few brave souls have tried to question a shadowy figure that crosses the corridor at dawn, but the shape vanishes before the first word is spoken. A student on the 4th floor woke up feeling someone's arm around her. It turned out her boyfriend was asleep facing away. He later admitted seeing a dark figure moving near her desk. With sorrowful voices in the tower, unseen movers in the attic, and playful poltergeists in the halls, Robie Andrews Hall keeps its long history alive, making many students believe they share their dorm with classmates from another time. Number 7. Captain Lord Mansion in Kennebunkport, Maine, is a Grand Three-Estuary inn built in 1812 by shipowner Captain Nathaniel Lord. Though he died just a few years later, his widow Phoebe and their family lived there for generations. Today, this elegant federal-style home is a bed and breakfast, but many guests and guides believe something unseen still roams its halls. Guests and staff often talk about strange, unexplainable experiences. Some say the spirit of Phoebe Lord, the captain's wife, still walks the mansion's grand spiral staircase. She loved the home dearly, especially the elegant cupola at the top. People have seen a woman in old-fashioned clothing climbing the steps, only to disappear before reaching the top. A guest once claimed he followed the sound of light footsteps up the stairs, thinking his wife had gone ahead. But when he reached the top, no one was there, and his wife was still asleep in bed. In one of the rooms, now known as the Lincoln Room, several couples have witnessed a woman dressed in a white nightgown quietly pass through the room at night. One couple said they saw her standing by the fireplace, gazing out the window, before slowly fading into thin air. Another guest woke up feeling as if someone was gently stroking their hair, but when they turned on the light, the room was empty. There's also a story from a family who stayed at the mansion during a summer trip. While walking in the garden, they saw a woman sitting on a bench, reading a book to a little girl. The pair looked like they stepped out of another time. When the family looked again, the bench was empty. The mansion's lights are known to flicker for no reason, and doors sometimes open and close by themselves. One staff member said the attic light kept turning on even though no one had been up there in years. During a thunderstorm, a loud crash came from the attic, but when they checked it, nothing was out of place. Even with these strange events, most people describe the spirits here as peaceful. It's as if the past still lingers gently within the mansion's walls, reminding guests that every room holds a story, and some of those stories are not yet finished. Number 8. Stroudwater Cemetery in Portland, Maine looks peaceful in daylight, a gentle hill of tilting stones bordered by tall pines and the slow Stroudwater River. But neighbors insist the ground is never truly quiet. They say the earth remembers every joy and sorrow laid beneath it, and on certain evenings those memories rise like mist over the grass, refusing to be forgotten. Near the Tate family lot, visitors sometimes pause mid-stride when the sharp scent of burnt gunpowder floats past on a breeze that is otherwise cool and clean. More than one person has followed that smell only to glimpse a pale woman clutching her side, her dress stained dark where the wound must be. Locals believe she is Mary Tate, killed in 1770 when a shotgun trap fired inside the family storehouse, set by her own son. Witnesses swear Mary's shape glides toward the riverbank where the shop once stood, then fades like smoke above the water. Storytellers link the sounds to farmer Jonas Bond and tanner Joseph Chenery, friends who stumbled off the old Stroudwater Bridge during a drunken walk home and drowned together. On warm nights, voices begging for a rope echo on warm nights when the tide is low. Groups visiting the grave of teacher William McMahon often quiet themselves without instruction. Guides say they have heard a gentle present, called from the tree line, as though the old master is still taking roll for pupils long buried nearby. An iron gate swings violently on windless summer nights, accompanied by the growl of a long-dead watchdog named Brimstone. All these eerie stories collectively build Stroudwater Cemetery's haunted reputation. Though rooted in simple truths and old beliefs, each story keeps the cemetery's quiet power alive, whispering that some past residents never truly left. Number 9. The Ogunquit Playhouse is one of the oldest summer theaters in the United States. It opened in 1933 and has welcomed thousands of actors, crew members, and audience guests over the years. While many people visit to see live performances, others come for the ghost stories. Staff, performers, and visitors have often said the theater feels haunted, especially late at night. One of the most famous spirits is believed to be a former stage manager from the 1940s. People have reported hearing keys jingling and doors unlocking on their own. When they turn around, no one is there. A few actors say they've seen a man in old-fashioned clothes watching them from the wings of the stage, but he vanishes when approached. In the dressing rooms, lights often flicker without reason. One actress said her makeup items were moved overnight, even though the room was locked. Others have heard whispering voices backstage, as if someone is running lines for a play that no longer exists. There's also the story of a young woman believed to have died in the theater during its early days. Some say she was an actress who fell from the catwalk. Her presence is felt in the upper seats, where a cold breeze can rush through, even on a hot summer day. Some guests report feeling a hand on their shoulder, only to find no one sitting behind them. One night during rehearsals, a prop was thrown across the stage by unseen hands. The cast thought someone was playing a trick until they found the stage doors were all locked, and no one else was in the building. In the balcony, people sometimes hear the sound of soft clapping when the theater is empty. A stage tech once said he saw a shadowy figure standing in the back row, clapping slowly before fading into the dark. With strange sounds, shadowy figures, vanishing objects, and ghostly applause, the Ogunquit Playhouse feels like it still has spirits waiting in the wings, long after the final curtain falls. Number 10. Kennebec Arsenal in Augusta, Maine, stands as a quiet testimony to a troubled past. Built between 1828 and 1838 as a military depot, it became part of the Maine State Hospital in 1901, later the Augusta Mental Health Institute, where more than 11,600 patients lived and died, many in unmarked or poorly recorded graves. This sad history lays the foundation for the reported hauntings that persist, even after its closure in 2004. One of the most widely shared tales involves a female patient. Witnesses describe her apparition in a torn hospital gown, wandering the halls with hollow eyes and a sorrowful face. Paranormal investigators have caught disembodied moans echoing through the administrative building, as though she cries out for justice or freedom. Then there's the story of phantom soldiers. Even though the arsenal's military use ended long ago, visitors recount seeing men in old military uniforms walking the grounds. Some have recorded EVPs that sound like distant orders or marching commands, remnants of the soldiers who once garrisoned the site. The basement level, once a place of isolation for mental hospital patients, hosts its own dark lore. Explorers report oppressive feelings of dread, sudden headaches, and nausea. Many hear scratching along the damp stone walls, as if unseen occupants are trapped just beyond view. In one chilling account, paranormal groups shared EVPs of footsteps pacing in empty rooms. Some guests say they heard distant voices respond when asked, "Are you here?" With its decaying buildings, secret tunnels, and chilling atmosphere, Kennebec Arsenal remains one of Maine's most haunted locations.